this isn't a computer file in the strictest sense of the word. I just thought I'd do a quick video after the last upload that was Dr. Steve Bagley and me helping out taking apart the Sun Microsystems server had a few glitches on it and some strange green flashes, and quite a few people are wondering what that was. So first off, before I talk about it, if you were massively affected by it and you decided you didn't want to watch the video, then there is a version without green flashes which you can find in the video description of the original video, so go and check that out. Otherwise, let's have a look at it. So first things first, why was there a problem? Well, I've got to be honest, I don't know the exact reason why the problem happened, but I can tell you what the differences are, and then we can probably infer some of the reasons that could have led to these problems. So firstly, I used my laptop, which is a, I think, rather nice Dell M3800. It runs Windows 10, and I used this to create the video. And I've done computer files on this before, not really had any problems with it. It's quite a powerful machine with an external graphics card. Well, an add-on, a GPU, and it does a really nice job. Now, some of you may realise that at the beginning of this year I started shooting computer file in 4K, or ultra high definition to be exact, and I hadn't done an UHD version or ultra high definition computer file on the laptop before, and ding dong, alarm bells start ringing. So the thing is, when you have a reasonably well-established workflow, and I've been making computer file videos for 4 years now, you tend to almost rely on that workflow, and then you do what we used to call, when I worked in the broadcast industry, a spot check on the final video. So you just check it in a few places. You make sure it starts, you make sure the audio is in sync and you can hear it, you check the end. Bad idea if you're changing anything. So yeah, so first off, the green flashes are not actually flashes per se. If I pull them up here and put it on full frame, you can actually see that the tint of the video changes to be slightly greenish, and I expect this is a problem with the color grading or color correction I did on the final video, which should have been applied to the entire video track for that segment. What I've done since people pointed the problem out is I've loaded exactly the same timeline, exactly the same media onto the desktop machine that I've got here, and exported it and not seen those flashes. So I think the most likely thing is that this hardware on the laptop is probably not quite powerful enough to deal with the specific workflow that I've got accustomed to using on this quite meaty desktop workstation. I'm making guesses here, but the difference is, laptop, obviously the hardware is different. It's also running Windows 10, but it's running exactly the same software and the same software versions as this machine, which was able to export in exactly the same manner without any glitches. So it's either, my guess is, a problem with the hardware, or it's a problem with Windows 10. My guess is it's probably the hardware struggling to keep up with itself and perhaps some kind of race condition happening. The green flashes weren't the only thing that was a problem though. There were some what appeared to be keyframes that kind of got a bit out of step, and having looked through the various different stages of this, I suspect that's purely this hardware issue that I'm talking about. But the point is, I used exactly the same workflow on a completely different machine. It seems to work all right. The other difference being Windows 10, Windows 7. So this is Windows 7. So I'm rambling a little bit, but hopefully it gives you a sense of, I do care about this stuff and it's important to me these videos are right. I know it's important to you guys that you don't watch technically bad videos as well. So I don't know if it's worth explaining the workflow. I could show you the workflow. Let me just put this camera in a different place. Okay, let me just move these bits out of the place. Raspberry Pi project. This is my setup. So obviously we film stuff and then the files get onto an SD card, and then the SD card is copied onto a hard disk, external hard disk in this case with USB 3, which seems to be plenty fast enough. And then that hard disk is then usually plugged into an edit machine. As I say, I usually use a desktop machine, which is a HP Z820 dual processor machine. I'm going to put those there. They're my little processors. They look like fried eggs. And it has 64 gigs of RAM, and it has a Quadro NVIDIA video card, and then I export it back to disk, and then I send it through Adobe Media Encoder. This is an MXF file at this point, by the way, MXF. My writing's worse than some of the computer scientists. Then I send it into Adobe Media Encoder. Gosh, my writing is definitely worse than computer scientists. And then from there, that then exports an MP4 file, which I upload to YouTube. So video.mp4, and that's a UHD file. So that's 3,840 pixels across. What is it? 2160 down. So it's 2160p. And then that gets sent to YouTube. So this is usually the point at which I check it, and then have a secondary check when it gets to YouTube. But again, spot checking. So apologies for all the spot checks. Now you know a little bit about how Computerphile gets put together.